Hello and welcome to another wonderful episode of The Reflection Show. My name is Martha Anabila. There has been a lot of stories going out about why people are mentally challenged. People even call them mad people. And there are even individuals who are still at homes like former homes with their family members. But because they are mentally challenged, there are a lot of issues around them. Some say that they are cursed, they have done one thing or the other. Those that's why they are going through what they are going through. Today we want to look at the misconceptions of mental health, and I have here in my studio members of Mind and Health Foundation Ghana who will be helping us to understand what they have been doing in the area of mental health and also delve into the details of mental health and how we can get back our loved ones who have been challenged by mental health. I have Mr. Naville Collins and Mr. Prince Prosper. They are all from the Mind and Health Foundation Ghana, and they'll be giving us nothing but the best of education of mental health. They have been doing a lot of these for some time now. They have personally reached out to a lot of people who have been mentally challenged, including their families or even hospitals or even the donations that they have done. And they can tell us that people who are mentally challenged can get back into the society strong, powerfully, and healthy. My hair is by Vipex Beauty Salon, makeup by Makeup Maven. My outfit is by Roots Youth and More. Shoes by Enid Collections. Refreshment is proudly supported by Trillium Industry Limited. And Dio Restaurant always giving us wonderful and sumptuous meals anytime we are on set. Thank you very much to Zoe Medical Center in Tamale, right opposite the Melcom branch here at Event Happen GH. If you have any occasion and you are looking for the best event organization to help you plan it, please call Event Happen GH and they'll give you nothing but the best. My name is Martha Anabila. Let's go for a break. When we are back, we go straight into the discussion about misconceptions on mental health, especially in Northern Ghana. Do stay tuned.
My name is Dr. Emmanuel Kambere Ujaki, the CEO of Zoe Medical Center, Tamale and at Brownville. We are a center of excellence. You are welcome. At Zoe Medical Center, we are endowed with the needed or requisite human resource. We are very much positioned also with our equipment. We have the modern and needed equipment to give you quality service. We run a 24-hour emergency service. We have OPD services also that we run daily. We are able to admit you or detain you on the ward for further observation and treatment. We have a diagnostic unit which is also able to help us with some of our diagnoses, such as we run an endoscopy, we run an ultrasound, and also some blood investigations that we do alongside. At Zoe Medical Center, you are ensured that you will have quality of care. Choose Zoe today, choose Zoe tomorrow, and you will not regret for choosing us. We are here for you, and we will do our best at any time that we come out to.
Thank you for staying with us. It's still the Reflection Show here on this channel. My name is Martha Anabila. Today's topic is misconceptions on mental health or maybe mental illness. I'll be speaking with personnel from Mind and Health Foundation Ghana, Mr. Collins and Mr. Prince, who are joining me here in the studio. So quickly, thank you for joining us here today, and we really appreciate your time here. Let's go straight to the discussion. Mental health has been a very big issue, but it's like we are still lagging behind. What is mental health at all? How can you help us to understand this?
To get a concept clear, we need to understand what health is.
Okay.
And by WHO definition, we are made to understand that health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease and infirmity. So there are key things we need to take note: physical, mental, and social.
Okay.
Now, with mental health, or when we say someone is mentally healthy, it means that the person is able to cope within the society, is able to appreciate the things within his environment, is able to live among people and contribute his quota to the development of the community. So when someone is able to do these things, we say the person is mentally healthy.
So mental is what? We've looked at health or being healthy. Mental is what?
Mental is just the state of the mind,
Okay.
how the mind operates.
So if
and
you are
how-
healthy in the mind.
Exactly.
Okay.
You're healthy in the mind. You see, what you may see normal. For instance, in India, I'm told women pay the dowry of men, right? But in Ghana, men pay the dowry of the woman. So when you go to India and see such a culture, your understanding is that the people might not, or the people may not be mentally healthy. But if you understand their culture, you know that it's part of them. So that doesn't make them mentally ill. So the cultural circumstances we find ourselves also determine the state of mental health or mental health of the person.
Okay. So what is Mind and Health Foundation? Because I see a lot of people who or organizations doing so much in the even the government doing so much about mental health. But what makes or practically what have you seen in your line of duty in the area of mental health that you think that we should actually pay serious attention to?
In our line of duty in mind and health, what we have realized is that because we've worked within the communities and the districts, what we have realized is that there is a gap of knowledge. You see, you may know the thing, but you don't have much information about the condition. So people are living in ignorance. So what Mind and Health intends to do is to bridge that gap.
Okay.
So we give knowledge. The person is able to make an informed choice or informed decision to seek for help promptly before the condition escalates because we have forms of mental illness.
Okay.
So when you're able to get the right information, you make the right decision and the right choice to be helped.
Let me come to you, Colin. What are in your line of work? What are some of the misconceptions you've seen, you've heard, that you think that is something that is not necessary?
All right. Yes, as my brother rightly said, when we talk about mental illness as a whole, there are wide ranges of conditions that affects the individual's mood, behavior, and personality as a whole. Now, to break it down to the level of people's understanding, it is a brain disorder. Okay. And funny enough, mental illness is one of the conditions that one can be affected without even knowing that he or she has been affected with mental illness.
Really?
Yes. And let me also put it this way. A lot of people over the years have the misconception that when they talk about mental illness, it is all about, wow, somebody babbling on the street with dreadlocks, eating garbage, among others. But that's not actually the case.
Looking dirty.
Filthy.
Yeah.
I mean, others are there, they talk to themselves. Others are there, they become so sad. Okay, but it's a whole lot. Okay, in mental illness, what happens is, if the individual, we have types of mental illness, okay, but looking at it as a whole, when we talk about mental illness, we look at specifics. There are some things that an individual used to do. For instance, with the definition I just mentioned, you'd realize that if an individual used to carry out his or her house chores, but all of a sudden, the fellow refuses.
The energy out is out.
It's minimal. Or for instance, the fellow was that outgoing type, but all of a sudden, the fellow becomes so moody. The fellow doesn't do things he or she used to enjoy doing. Then you should know that there's alarm, or there should be a prompt message to any clinical professional. So now with mental illness, there are a lot of misconceptions about it. And let me delve much into the misconceptions. When we talk about misconceptions, it simply means that the erroneous notions about how people perceive what mental illness is. Okay, and over the years, we have heard a lot of things evolving around mental illness or mental conditions. Now, let me also emphatically state that
mental illness is not just about depression. It's not just about schizophrenia. Okay, it is a wide range of them. For instance, an individual who wakes up during the daytime can wake up so early, okay, during the day, but however, finds it so difficult to sleep during at night.
Okay.
And that would persist. There is always persistence. When there's an illness, there's always persistence. Maybe, for instance, maybe a week or more. Okay. Now, others also think that when we talk about mental illness, it is just basically about, what do you call it, people who cannot function in society.
Okay.
Now, with mental illness, it has no respect for any individual.
Is depression a part of mental health?
Yes. Depression is one of the...
Age.
Yes. Depression is one of the mental illnesses that you cannot... you would...
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
can mention
yes, you
mental
can
illness without excluding.
Exactly. For instance, depression is one, or psychotic depression. We have schizophrenia. We have mood disorders. We have eating disorders. Okay. We have sexual disorders or dysfunctions. We have learning disabilities. All these ones are ranges of what? Mental conditions or mental illness. Now, if there is no, a professional who would diagnose, who would tell you A or B is suffering from mental illness based on the symptoms or the signs and symptoms the fellow is showing, you may be thinking that it's just a normal thing. You understand? So let me just take it this way. Let's come to the misconceptions. One of the misconceptions involving around mental illnesses, people say if you are mentally challenged, we hear people say madness. It is not madness. We use the term mentally challenged. People say if you are mentally challenged, you cannot work. And we are here to tell you that it's a fallacy.
Okay.
If you are mentally challenged, you can be treated.
Okay.
Because with mental illness, we have forms of treatment.
Okay.
If your mental illness is not, if it is functional, you can be treated. What I mean by functional here is all the lobes of your brain has not been damaged.
Oh, okay.
Okay, it can be corrected.
Just like malaria, you can be treated.
Exactly.
Okay, some forms of mental illness you can be treated.
It can also be treated. That is why you need a prompt attention of a qualified personnel. Okay. Others also perceive that when you are mentally challenged, obviously, you are a threat to the society.
Because you might not be acting right as seen by everybody.
Yes. We have seen a lot of vagrants on the streets. Yes. They may behave awkwardly because of a precipitating factor. However, with mental illness, if there is a family coordination,
okay,
you wouldn't see them out of the street.
Okay.
Because mental illness is not written on people's faces. You don't see it like this unless it's being diagnosed.
So you think that, not to cut, you think that the family has a role to play in ensuring that people do not see others as you are mad or you are on the street.
Exactly.
But there's a good coordination in the family or society. We can even have them in our homes and they can still receive treatment.
Absolutely. So you see, with that form of coordination it's a collective decision. Okay, from the health personnel to the family and the environment he or she lives in. But here's the case that the system we found ourselves, a lot of people are quick to judge, quick to name, quick to shame. That is where stigmatization comes in.
Yeah.
Let me cite a clinical example. I remember a neighbor of mine who was developing mental illness.
Okay.
All of a sudden, some days are there, he could just scatter, or should I say, be very destructive at home. Okay, even to an extent that maybe when he goes for an occasion, let's say in a church, all of a sudden the symptoms arises.
He began to misbehave.
Becomes to misbehave. And when that begins to happen, people begin to name. Example,
he's mad.
Exactly.
He's not so.
Yes. People begin to name, point hands at the family, the individual himself, begins to tell other people who are not even aware of the condition. that so Mr. A or B is suffering from this. And that goes a long way to affect the individual the more.
That's true.
Yes.
It's okay. So looking at that, please let me go back to print.
Yeah.
What are some of the major causes of mental illness or making people not be healthy mentally?
As you said, when you're discussing with colleagues, there is no cause, major cause. Like we know with malaria, we talk of the Anopheles mosquito female, but there are predisposing factors.
Okay.
Predisposing in the sense that when you do this or you do that, there's a tendency that you can be mentally ill. So, for instance, if in your family there's a history that's genetic, if there's a history of mental illness in the family, there's a tendency that a relative or a member of the family can be mentally ill. And also due to illnesses. Most of, in our culture, in our villages, if someone is sick, usually the first line of action is either to bath herbs or usually those who go around with the bicycles or the motorbikes with the drags in the boxes or how they call those things.
Local first aid.
Exactly. So when you treat and the condition subsides, not gone, they think it's done. It's when the condition becomes critical, then they come to the hospital. And if there's a possibility of any brain damage, although it may not be too severe, but it will be significant. So that can predispose the person into getting a mental illness. And if you are a child or your mother and your child usually experiences convulsion, series of convulsion, and it's not properly treated, it can predispose you into getting a mental. But epilepsy is a neurological condition.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a mental health condition. It's a neurological condition. But just because when they say epilepsy, they think it's a mental health.
Like
it becomes
affects your nerves and you're
exactly.
unable
So it's a
to-
neurological condition. It becomes a mental health condition when there's psychosis, symptoms or
Eish.
signs
That's a
being
whole-
exhibited. Okay, let me break it
Yeah.
down. It becomes a mental health issue when the person starts seeing things you are not seeing,
Okay.
smelling things you are not.
Hallucinating.
I don't want to use the word hallucinating because I want to break it down. So seeing things normal people or people within his communities are not seeing, or his family. Hearing things no one is hearing within his family. Smelling things no one is smelling within his family. Has a behavior from the normal. Then the person develops that.
Okay.
Then we also have trauma. You can be physically abused. If care is not taken, for instance, you can be raped. You can be
Yeah.
tortured.
Broken hearts.
It depends on which heart is broken.
No, but of course, looking at trauma, I think
Yes.
these are most of the. No,
I-
I want us to go quite
Yeah, I understand.
practical
Sure.
and be realistic.
Yeah,
Because
broken
we're
heart-
looking,
yeah,
we're
broken
looking
heart
at
is a factor.
depression.
Sure.
People get
Yeah,
depressed
yeah.
after a failed marriage or
that's a fact.
relationship.
No, that's
Yes.
a fact. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a fact. But that was just on a lighter note.
Yeah.
Broken heart is part. Then usually the trauma to includes accidents. We're encouraged to wear helmets when we are using our motorbikes.
Please, my Tamale people, I listen.
Yes, we're encouraged to wear
Yeah,
helmets.
yeah.
Because when you fall and your head hits the ground, depending on the magnitude,
So apart from the physical injury
yeah,
that can happen to your head,
Yeah.
there can be
Yeah.
something in your brain can
yeah,
shift.
your neurons can be distorted.
Yeah. Just to add to what my
You
brother
see,
is saying,
okay.
you see, the brain is one of the most powerful organs in our human body,
Sure.
and it weighs about 6 pounds. Okay, the brain itself has got its own hormones. That is why you and I are sitting down here to have a very lovely conversation. Now, what happens is this: when mental illness begins, it doesn't have a specific cause. Okay, something will what
Will trigger it.
will trigger it, precipitating factors or predisposing factors. That is why researchers have come out to say that in causes of mental illness, they will group it into 3 main parts, also known as the trilogic factors. That's the agent, the host, and then the environmental factors. Let me just delve into it a little. So when we look at, for instance, the host factors, your age. Your age can predispose you to mental illness.
Is it a younger age or an
Good.
older age?
So it varies. Usually when you are at a very tender age, you are highly susceptible to developing mental illness. Why? Because at the very infantile stages, for instance, infection can set in. That is why we usually have cerebral malaria when care is not taken. Because of its viral, infectious nature, it travels fast to the brain.
Okay.
That is why the individual or the kid begins to have high temperature. The heat regulating system of the brain becomes so hot that when care is not taken, it affects the brain. And that is where the fellow develops what? Seizures. And seizures will now also develop into what? Epilepsy. You see how interesting it is?
Wow.
Yes. So however, when you are aging, for instance, 60 years and above, you can also have some certain forms of mental illness, like dementia. That is where it is more common to, let me put it this way, our elderly in the society, like our grandmothers, our mothers who are above 60 years and above. You realize that sometimes, a very practical example is sometimes when you are in a home with them, they begin to complain a lot. Some of them are there, they easily forget.
And that's the one that time we call them witches and we go to burn their houses.
Beautiful.
But we don't understand that it could be a mental health issue.
Exactly. So at that period, there's degeneration of what? The brain cells.
Yeah.
They aren't active like being in the useful stages. You understand? So at that point, as you rightly said, people begin to say, no, he or she is a witch or a wizard. So let's go and consult our gods and then we'll banish him out of the society. Please, it is not so. We need to understand what mental illness actually is, because the young suffer it and then the aged equally suffers it. You understand? Someone's body makeup, genetic body makeup, for instance, somebody who is so fat can be predisposed to epilepsy.
Okay, so I want us to look at the effects of mental health on the individual, the family, and even as the community or the society as large. Right?
Yeah, one of the effects is that it makes the person unable to cope with his immediate environment. And it also makes the person feel neglected within the environment of the society. And also with the aspect of stigma he spoke about. The client or the individual is stigmatized. The family in which the client is coming from is also stigmatized. And the effect of this stigma, it's really, really one of the major issues we have in Ghana. A family which is known to have epileptic cases, even in school or when they find themselves in places, you see that they point out, excuse me to say, in our local, they will say, So
in English, you'd say it is not this person's house that they have an epileptic patient. Okay.
And because they have the misconception that when a person experiences an episode, then he foams from his mouth and saliva touches you, or he passes flatulence and you smell it, you will get the condition.
Say that again.
He passes flatulence.
So I'm coming. Take your time. If someone is having an epileptic attack, and I am near the person, so for example, asthma, you try to help the person to the hospital, etc. So if it happens to an epileptic patient and I try to help and the saliva from their mouth...
No, that's what I'm saying. That's a misconception.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank God.
Yes. So as you're saying...
let me just run out of that.
Yeah.
So that's a misconception.
A misconception.
Yes,
so
that's a
people
misconception.
think that when it just touches you,
so
it
usually,
can infect you.
Usually what we say is this. My brother started talking of the epilepsy. We have forms. We have absent seizure, where the person doesn't fall, but he experiences the episode. So since the person doesn't fall, how do you know that the person hasn't gotten that condition? So the person may not fall and pass the flatulence, then you smell it. Do you get a condition? We have people who are selling food we buy to eat.
And we don't know what they have.
The episode, right, correct. They may experience the episode, saliva comes out from their mouth. That same food you buy and go and consume. Why are you not having the condition?
Indeed, why are you not having the condition? We are discussing about the misconceptions of mental health. And I'm learning so much myself today because I believe that growing up with our orientation, we have at one point or the other stigmatized against anyone or someone having dealing with mental health. Let's go for a break. When we are back, there is more to learn.
Yele, yele, yela, yele. Praise the Lord, Whoa. Yeah. Are you ready? Okay.
Like a rainbow, so my life made colorful. If you don't know, a life with this man is beautiful. Sing to the glory of
Oh, yeah, sing to the glory of God.
Sing to the glory of
Oh, yeah, sing to the glory of God.
It's He I know. Everywhere I go, it's He I see. Anything I do, it's He I go.
My name is Dr. Emmanuel Kambere Ujaki, the CEO of Zoe Medical Center, Tamale and Adekwanfo. We are a center of excellence. You are welcome. At Zoe Medical Center, we are endowed with the needed or requisite human resource. We are very much positioned also with our equipment. We have the modern and needed equipment to give you quality service. We run a 24-hour emergency service. We have OPD services also that we run daily. We are able to admit you or retain you on the ward for further observation and treatment. We have a diagnostic unit which is also able to help us with some of our diagnoses, such as we run an endoscopy, we run an ultrasound, and also some blood investigations that we do alongside. At Zoe Medical Center, you are ensured that you will have quality of care. Choose Zoe today, choose Zoe tomorrow, and you will not regret for choosing us. We are here for you, and we will do our best at any time that we can.
Welcome back to the Reflection Show. Today I am a bit sad because there are a lot of times that while growing up, we have been psyched, we have been told, and knowingly or unknowingly, we have stigmatized against people who are mentally challenged. And I think that this episode is making me to regret most of the actions that I have taken, not because I knew and I was doing them intentionally, because the people I grew up with had that misconception. So as a child, you have to respect your parents, you have to respect your elders. But I believe after this discussion, all of us are going to understand that just like I can go down with malaria, anybody can go down with mental health. So back to the discussion. Give me practical stories you have seen, you have heard, you have experienced in your line of work.
Okay,
in regards to mental
let me give a
illness.
recent one. I think 2 weeks ago, I was going towards the STC yard. So I parked and I got down. A man accidentally had an episode. And almost everyone around started moving away from him. So I got and I went there. First of all, you have to remove danger away from the person because of the seizure, the episode he goes through, for him not to injure himself. So I did that. Then, it just, it takes a few minutes, a few seconds for the episode to be done. I did that. He was wearing a belt. I tried to loosen him. He wore the shirt with the button.
Yeah, so
I
you
tried
have
to
to
put him
loosen.
here. Then, he, when he went through the episode, I had tissue, cleaned his mouth because he was drooling from the mouth.
Can imagine the
Yeah,
scene,
yeah.
STC.
Oh, it was a little bit bad scene. I did that, kept him through the recovery position. When he was okay, I reorientated him, sat him down, we spoke. The reason why you have to do that, if you leave them that way, the person at that phase is unconscious.
embarrassed or
No,
they are
like
afraid.
when he goes through the episode, you need to, yes, he goes through the episode, you need to reorientate him. You need
Okay.
to bring him back. Try to see whether he can recall the immediate things and stuff around
Okay,
him.
where he's going and
Yeah,
all
like what am I wearing?
Those
What is in the
things,
situation? Yeah,
yeah.
just to bring his conscience back. Because if you leave him that way, he may get up because of his confused state, cross the road. What happens?
An accident.
You see. So when I was done, just this, I think 2 weeks, when I was done, the people around there were looking at me in some ways. And I said, no, it's not. Because the guy was drooling and using a tissue to clean it. Obviously, because of the misconception they have, which I spoke about, that if you touch the foam or when he's drooling,
it affected
exactly,
you that
you get a
moment.
condition. So I took that as an opportunity to speak to them and tell them that it's not, it doesn't, it can't affect you when you help someone like this and stuff. Another practical example is we had an engagement with community members in a district where we wanted to find out some of the misconceptions they have or perceptions they have about mental health. And what they told us is that when you are sweeping, then the broom direction, like you're sweeping towards someone, and accidentally the sound of the broom touches your skin, or I don't know how to explain it, passes on your skin or touches your skin, you'll be mentally ill. Yeah, you'll be mentally ill. I asked them the concept. You know, you may hear what they are telling you. You need to find out what triggers that, or what came into their culture, what predisposed that kind of concept. And some will tell you too that if you prepare fufu in a mortar, then you wash it and finish, then the water in the mortar, you don't discard it. Then the following day, you use the water to wash your hand or your face. You'll be mentally ill.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, you'll be mentally ill.
Yes.
And that's why in our earlier introductory statements, Mind and Health seek to bridge that gap.
Okay.
Because if lack of knowledge, our people are perishing, we must give them knowledge so that they don't perish. Because we strongly believe that the more we give the knowledge out to our people about mental health, they'll be more responsible in taking the right decisions and timeliness of taking the right decisions to curb any complication.
Well,
I'm just trying to fit these misconceptions in my mind.
there's another practical
Yeah.
one. Yes. There's also another, I mean, there are so many practical ones that within the last few months, when COVID broke, I mean, a lot of things had gone wrong. Now, I met a teacher who is highly learned. Even though he was a teacher, he's a pastor as well. So I think when COVID broke in, some few months, his beloved wife started experiencing signs and symptoms of mental illness. And because he believes in the spiritual realm, he decided to chain his beloved wife.
Chain.
Yes, in shackles. Okay, chained his beloved wife, starved him for close to a week. It is only water he would give to the wife. Now, adding to that, there was enough torture, beatings, caning.
Why? For the evil spirit to come out.
Exactly.
Okay.
You see, this man of God had the perception that
It's spiritual.
it is highly spiritual. Anything concerning mental illness is highly spiritual. There's nothing to do with the hospital, or should I say our modern technological advancements. So this thing kept on persisting till somebody realized that day in and day out, this fellow keeps crying. The wife of this pastor keeps crying in the house, shouting. Then he drew our attention that he realized that this pastor has been doing, harm to their wife. And thereby then, they came to our facility. We went to visit them. Behold, it was so sad to see a very beautiful woman who you've happily wedded. All over her backs
body
were
was scratches.
bruises, starved for days. You understand?
I can imagine.
And tortured. And these are the things we go
Yeah.
through. Even this is someone who is learned. You see, that's why we let's talk about that. It's not about knowing the four squares of a classroom, but it is about being enlightened. So that is why Mind and Health Foundation, we try to bridge that gap. Okay. Another practical example is, so when that happened, we as a team came together. And when the client or the patient saw us, at a point in time, she became aggressive. but she was so weak and emaciated. So
You know,
when we
yeah, I think sometimes it's anger, or,
Exactly.
or when they lose the chains, you just want to free yourself and go. So through that aggression,
Exactly. So when we
they will
came
think-
in, we decided to calm the woman down. Initially, pastor thought we were using magic or medicine. But we said, no, it is our work. It is our job. Let's deal with it. She is human as we are. She wasn't like this when you met her. It is just a state of what? A condition that has predisposed or precipitated to this factor. You understand? And as I'm telling you, the woman is doing practically well. She still goes back to her school as a teacher. They were both teachers whilst the husband was a pastor. If I don't tell you that this patient has suffered mental illness,
oh, the husband didn't do it.
you understand? So these are the things we keep, these are the misconceptions in our societies that, that harms us.
And I
Another-
think sometimes we
Yeah.
want to pressure them.
Exactly.
There's this movie I watched. It was funny. I think somebody was angry. There was a situation, and people like at a psychiatric unit were going round
Sure.
to pick up mentally challenged people to go back to the unit. So this guy was just angry and kept shouting, and he went to take the guy. But you see, because he was aggressive, trying to free himself, the more he says I'm not mad, the more they think he's mad. So I
Exactly.
think that, like, later on, like somebody came in and began to have a discussion. So I think that when we try to prove or say that they are mad, because like, if you tell me I'm mad, I want to convince
Exactly.
you, but maybe I'm not. I don't know how to do it the right way.
Beautiful.
Until, like you said, you calm down, talk to the person one-on-one. So I think that let's look at how we, those who think that we are mentally healthy,
All right.
can approach those who are mentally ill to know whether they are just in the early stages to cure them or to help them cure, etc.
All right. I just wanted to add another classical example
Okay.
about when COVID broke in. We all knew that people were saying that, oh, when you use alcohol to sanitize, you wouldn't be infected with COVID-19.
Or when you drink it.
Or when you drink it, you wouldn't be infected with COVID-19. A lot of chaos happened because of what? Lack of knowledge. People were perishing.
Serious
And we as Mind and Health, we came to their aid. This was what happened. There was a young guy aged between 25 to 28 years. Okay. When he just said that alcohol was the number one medicine for COVID.
Ooh, he started drinking it.
He started he had binge drinking. When I say binge, he had the voracious appetite to take in not just mere club or mere Guinness, but the real appetite, which is not even diluted. Okay, the fellow became so intoxicated that her system was shutting down.
A lady?
A guy.
Okay.
Yes. So you see, he had a perception that once I don't want to get COVID or once I don't want to be mentally ill, he began abusing, more of the substances. And our team came to his rescue by trying to detoxify him, referred him to the appropriate quarters, whereby we did a lot of MSCs, that's mental status examination. And right now that I'm talking to you, the fellow has undergone rehabilitation and he's perfectly doing well.
Do we have rehabilitation centers for the mentally, those who are mentally ill in Tamale?
In Tamale, I don't know of any. However, in Ghana, we have 3 main psychiatric hospitals that undergo 12 steps or rehabilitation process for, people who abuse substances.
Okay.
That notwithstanding, there are other private entities that help people come out of alcohol. Like for Mind and Health Foundation, we have currently about 20 to 25 alcoholic groups,
Okay.
people that are trying to come out from alcohol. We have, yes.
Yeah.
So we know
And then they
them
have
as
association.
Yes,
Yes,
The
alcoholics.
drunkards.
Alcohol
Anonymous group. And they are perfectly doing well.
So
Based
they
on-
want to stop taking alcohol.
Exactly. Funny enough, people do not know that abusing alcohol or substances is a mental health issue.
Really?
Yes, it's a mental health issue. That is why we always tell people mental health is not something that must be underrated.
I think we'll be looking at the bigger picture until
Yeah,
I'm wearing short skirts, torn dress, roaming.
exactly.
That is when we see that challenge.
Exactly.
you've gone far.
You've gone far.
But I think just even lying in my room and I can't sleep, I can't eat, I can't even study. At a point, I think you need to really start thinking about your
Yes.
mental. I think
That's
yes,
true.
I think from this conversation, I'm trying to see that even if something don't even go right in your life, maybe you fail an exam and you are depressed.
Good.
It can be the beginning.
Yes. You've realized that over the past years, there have been cases of suicide. Yes, in the second cycle institutions.
That's it.
Now, this also happened in the, clinical experience about when they wrote SSC, WAEC, WASI. This was one of, there was a student they brought to the facility whereby the fellow is an exceptional student, so
What you
brilliant.
feel.
Since he entered his first his first year at
Senior high school.
the senior high school, he never had a B. He never had a B. That is for sure. It is always A throughout. Till till the WASI day. And this WASI day, when results were out, very unfortunate on his part, even though it was a pass mark, this individual had a C plus. A C plus. That is, when you are grading, that's fairly good.
Yeah.
Or should I say very good. That's very good. C plus. And this fellow wanted to commit suicide.
On that note, I want us to go for a break, and
Alright.
we're going to look at how we can come out from depression or mental illness,
Alright.
where we can go for help, and what's our role as parents, friends to people are. It's a very interesting topic here on the Reflection Show. I think that you watching me should understand that you have a big role to play in making sure that you and your friends stay healthy and stronger. Let's go for a break. When we are back, we delve into deeper content. Stay tuned.
My name is Dr. Emmanuel Kambere Bujaki, the CEO of Zoe Medical Center, Tamale and at Brownville. We are a center of excellence. You are welcome. At Zoe Medical Center, we are endowed with the needed or requisite human resource. We are very much positioned also with our equipment. We have the modern and needed equipment to give you quality service. We run a 24-hour emergency service. We have OPD services also that we run daily. We are able to admit you or detain you on the ward for further observation and treatment. We have a diagnostic unit which is also able to help us with some of our diagnoses, such as we run an endoscopy, we run an ultrasound, and also some blood investigations that we do alongside. At Zoe Medical Center, you are ensured that you will have quality of care. Choose Zoe today, choose Zoe tomorrow, and you will not regret for choosing us. We are here for you, and we will do our best at any time that.
Yele, yele, yela, yele. Praise the Lord, oh. Whoa. Yeah. Are you ready? Okay.
Like a rainbow, so my life made colorful. If you don't know, a life with this man is beautiful. Sing to the glory of
Oh, yeah, sing to the glory of God.
Sing to the glory of
Oh, yeah, sing to the glory of God.
It's He I know. Everywhere I go, it's He I see. Anything I do, it's He I go.
Books by Pastor A.L. Fant. They are inspired by the Holy Spirit, simple to comprehend, relevant in application, and so lovely to read. Grab copies like Dynamics of Kingdom Influence, Dynamics of Ministry, Mark is King for Church Workers, Money Matters, and she calls herself a woman. This marriage must work. No more curses, loaded mouth, secrets of kingdom dominion, the exploits of service. Things fall apart. Church without bleeding pulpit, singles mingle, and many more.
Welcome back from the break. It's been a wonderful discussion here on the Reflection Show, understanding the misconceptions of mental illness and how we can help support people who are mentally challenged to live and get back into the society. Quickly, how do I help somebody who is mentally challenged?
All right. I think helping someone who is mentally challenged is not a very enormous task, but it's just about passing through the right channel. Okay, the environment we live in, what you have to first do is observation. If you know that your neighbor or your sister or your brother used to do A, B, or C, but all of a sudden things turn up or changes in his life begins to turn up, that is where you can question.
Okay.
When you are questioning,
change in character or attitude.
Exactly. When
Okay.
you are questioning, sometimes a film may portray, a particular attitude, but he or she has a reason. When this persists for about 1 week to 2 weeks, sometimes it doesn't necessarily mean that she persists for 1 week to 2 weeks. Sometimes 3 days, the film can be highly aggressive. Then you seek consent. For
Okay.
instance, if it's in the family basis, sometimes this are, should I say, the northern balance in which we are, we deal with hierarchy.
Okay.
For instance, if let's say your dad is the head of the society, you shouldn't just get up and say, oh, my dad is mentally challenged. No. You seek advice first.
From
If that is beyond your control, look for somebody who can speak on your behalf. Then after which you consult any hospital.
Okay.
But however, Mind and Health Foundation is open to everybody. You
Okay.
can place a call to us.
Okay.
We come to
Before
your
we
aid.
talk about Mind and Health Foundation, I want us to finally look at. I'll go to point on that.
All right.
So tidbits on. He has mentioned observing the character or behavior change in people. But beyond that, if I observe and I see that, what's the next step to do for the person? Quickly.
You seek help
Okay. Where?
at the hospital.
Okay.
Usually, because psychiatric nurses are not that many within the health sector or the health centers, you first go to the facility, any near facility,
Okay.
present your complaints to them with a guide or someone who understands you. Then they refer you to the appropriate quarters or the appropriate institution or facility. They have a mental health nurse or a psychiatric nurse who will take your history
Okay.
and pick it up from there.
Okay.
But what we want to quickly chip in is the use of local treatment as a first line of action in treating certain mental health conditions. We are not disrespecting or disabusing locally.
The impact of
yeah.
the herbs and local.
Yeah, but there are certain conditions
That's
that when you promptly come to the facility or to the healthcare provider who is trained in that capacity to help, your condition will be helped or you will recover faster or better
okay.
than when you start with the local treatment.
Okay.
But with the local treatment, what it does is that it may either worsen the condition or migrate to a different level where it will really take a bit of time and commitment from both parties, from the client, the family,
Okay.
and also the caregiver to
Okay.
give out the best in helping the client.
Okay, so quickly,
Yeah.
it means that mental illness should not be seen as a spiritual condition at all.
Oh, no. It's
So
not
when it's
spiritual.
delayed, that is when it becomes so serious and people are unable to do what, to access medications or treatments for their loved ones.
You know, some of the conditions my brother spoke about does not necessarily need medication. When you're taking through counseling, you see, as he spoke
Some of
about
them need
depression,
money. when you are depressed or you are broken.
Exactly.
So yes, I get what you are saying.
Yeah.
But no, I said that because we are making us to understand that it can start from just even being sad. That
Yes,
is
that's
mental
true.
illness.
Yes.
It can just be a simple malaria. If you don't take care, it can go into typhoid.
Exactly.
That's what I'm trying to say.
And as you rightly said,
So-
poverty is one
Exactly.
factor.
So maybe I fail my exams, or no, I even pass and I have to go to the university. But I'm applying for scholarship. I'm asking for help to go to the university, and I'm not getting that. Alone can get me this.
Let me even chip into what you said. You can even pass and it will trigger mental illness. Why? Because there can be elation.
You have overpass.
Exactly. Overpassed. And then
I
over
wonder.
over the few weeks, then that is what we call in the mental health this thing, we call it mania. When
Oh,
the
okay.
fellow has euphoria,
Over
elated,
excitement.
over yeah, sorry, like those.
Tell me, like if you
Exactly.
dash me some $1 million.
Before you realize, you may be thinking
they
that
all
it is
go back.
normal. Before you realize, you may be thinking that it's just a normal job.
Excitement.
But it progresses.
Hey.
The fellow can even naked herself or himself.
It's
the fellow can be
true.
jumping,
It's like when
running.
some people win bets,
Exactly.
they shout and they want to take
Good. So in mental illness, it's not all about being
the negative
negatives.
or the
It can
sad.
equally be the positives.
Positive.
Right now, if maybe you can just win a jackpot, just like you
1
said,
million. No, man, me $1
about
million
maybe let's say
I won't
50
go mad.
billion. 50
Oh,
billion,
no.
you can just
Some
imagine.
people.
Exactly. You see, so that is just, so let's get this clear. It's not all
Exactly.
about the negatives.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
Let's talk a bit about Mind and Health Foundation, and you can just give out your contact out, your website, if anyone wants to get in touch with you for counseling, etc.
Okay, Mind and Health is 1.5 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, then
I'm older than you. I'm 6 years.
Yes, that's fine.
yeah, it's just 1.5 years old, and we've been in the system, especially in the communities, and helping. And we basically, as we mentioned at the beginning, are into creating awareness, giving the knowledge out for people to make their decisions. And we are also not into medication.
Okay.
As my brother mentioned, we have self-help groups or the Alcohol Anonymous groups, where we are helping people come out of their drinking habits.
Okay.
So what we do is that every individual takes alcohol differently. So we help the person understand the units of alcohol he takes in a normal day. Then, and we are also, because we are also mental health workers, we are mindful of the withdrawal effects or withdrawal symptoms the person will go through.
Yeah.
And so we use the trans-theoretical model, which we will not go into details about that. The trans-theoretical model is a health promotion model that is very useful in helping people come out of alcohol or those who are addicted to alcohol. So you understand the consumption of the person, his daily consumption, then try to reduce it. For instance, if the person takes 10 bottles a day, he can start with Pito and end with Star. Or he can start with a tot, enter into the Pito, then conclude with a bottle. So when we are able to appreciate what the person takes in a normal day, then we calculate the units of alcohol he takes. The body takes 1 hour to digest 1 unit of alcohol.
Oh.
Yes, just a unit of alcohol. So we will calculate to tell you the units of alcohol you consume in a normal day.
So you have a practical, strategy
engagement,
way of
yes. We engage individual
practical
clients.
strategic ways of
Exactly.
helping
Helping
people,
Yeah.
being on them day by day
Exactly.
to make sure that well, I think you are doing
Because
so
we
well.
are professionals, we have been
Okay.
trained, okay? And in as much as we have been trained, we focus on 3 main aspects. That's Mind and Health Foundation. As you rightly said, advocacy, bringing mental health to the doorsteps of the ordinary Ghanaian. We also have research. Over the year, just the past few years, we have done research on substance abuse. And Tamale, as I say, or the northern part, a lot of the youth are into what substance abuse, which is, which has caused more harm than good.
Yeah, a lot
Okay.
tramadol here and there.
Exactly, everywhere, tramal. We've also done, we're also into what consultancy services. So with the consultancy services, that could be corporate bodies can invite us. Maybe we've worked with some banks. They will call us, we come and do mental status examination to assess their mental state. You know, it's not all about work.
So you can access me.
Exactly.
And you
Sometimes,
see, just
Yeah.
a chip in that people are not aware that you could go to a facility to check yourself.
to check yourself.
Hey.
Just like you go to check your BP, you go to check your
Hey.
sugar level,
Oh.
you go to check. Yeah,
So
just walk
I can-
into a facility
okay, I
with a
didn't
mental
know.
health nurse. Then you have a conversation with him or her. The person.
I have visited a psychologist before. I think that was in 2014, 2015, about just to know how the process is, and they'll give you some plenty things like exams for you to write. And I think they have a way of making that help you to know whether you're okay or
So
not.
what he was doing was, even though I'm not so sure,
Yeah.
but we use a lot of terminologies as well as
Yes.
psychoanalysis.
Some letters and
Exactly.
questions. And
We have a lot of psychoanalysis that you pass through. You know, the brain is so powerful, and before you give a diagnosis, you need to be sure, because the least thing you are causing harm than good.
okay.
Okay, so that is why Mind and Health Foundation have a team of qualified personnel. We have doctors, nurses of all categories. We have people from the security services. We have lawyers. We have and a whole lot. So we're open to
Our
everybody.
time, my
Yeah.
producer is asking me to wrap up, so I just have to do that before
Sure.
I put myself in trouble. Your final words in just about 20 seconds each. Your final words.
All right. So my final words to the public is, never stigmatize people with mental illness, because mental illness has no respect for everybody. Mind and Health Foundation is open to all.
Okay.
You can support us in any way. If you want to find more on us, you can Google www.mindandhealthfoundationgh.com.
Okay.
Then you find a lot of things.
Yeah.
You can email us. We are equally on Facebook. Our numbers too are also displayed on the screen that you will see. Call us anytime. We'll have a good dialogue. Then we'll bring you out of mental illness.
If they are in Tamale, you can meet them one-on-one.
Yes, if you are in Tamale
Okay.
or in the northern part, even when you are even outside Tamale, don't hesitate.
And if you're in UK, you can.
Yes, if
see
you are
us.
in UK, that's even the easiest.
That's
You
the
understand? We
easiest.
have all.
Pascal, if you're watching this, I'm doing this for you.
Yes, so that is it. So that's Mind and Health for you.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you.
Finally.
And finally, I want to say that mental illness could be you. So, if you should treat someone badly or poorly, tomorrow you'll be in his shoes or her shoes. And to whom much is given, much is expected. So, if you treat someone badly and you find yourself into the shoes of the person, and you're treated the same way, how would you feel?
Yeah.
So, since you would not like to be treated badly, I think it's appropriate for all of us to see ourselves as potential mentally challenged clients, so that we treat people who are mentally challenged
Yeah.
with a good heart, helping them come out of it, and then we'll have a perfect community.
And of course, would always want to have a perfect community. I'm so excited about this episode. You know why? Because from the beginning, I was feeling a bit guilty, because while growing up, I have, of course, stigmatized someone who was mentally challenged. But I changed a long time before today. So I want you watching me today to understand that you can show so much love to anyone who is mentally challenged. I have been speaking with Naville Collins and Prince Prosper. They are all from Mind and Health Foundation Ghana, and the topic has been misconceptions about mental illness. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming on the show. And to acknowledge my supporters, Vipex Beauty Salon for my hair, Makeup by Makeup Maven, my outfit is by Root Suits and more. My shoes by Ennis Collections, and refreshment, it's proudly supported by Trillium Industry Limited, producers of Rush Energy, Verna, McBerry Biscuits, etc. Zoe Medical Center here in Tamale. Thank you very much for your support. And our set design is by Event Happen GH. Any occasion you have a wedding, you have a corporate event, you have an outdoor one, just call Event Happen GH, and they'll give you nothing but the best. Wherever you are in the world, just call Auntie Joyce and she'll give you nothing but the best. And Dio Restaurant, thank you for the sumptuous meals you always give us anytime we are here on set. And lastly, please, the Martha Inspired Foundation is still calling out for sponsorship for clothes, learning materials. If you give us money, we'll collect, because we want to reach out to a lot of young people out there who need to stay in school, but they don't have learning materials. They don't have books to stay in school. They don't have school bags. They don't even have uniforms. There are even people at even junior high schools or even in primary, we have to even support them with fees and etc. Please come to our aid. Call us on our numbers on our screen. Give us a WhatsApp. Give us a call wherever you are in the world. Check our website on www.marthainspired.org, and I'll be more than available to attend to you, because we need to have a better place. We need to restore your hope, and we need to inspire great people. Thank you very much for watching the show. Until same time next week, do have a good evening. I am Martha Anabila.